Kashish Gupta, you are the co-founder and co-CEO of Hightouch. You took Hightouch from a Y Combinator idea to a $1.2 billion valuation. That's a big number.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tim, because inspiration doesn't strike in a vacuum. It strikes because customers lead you towards that kind of solution and what you can build for them to solve problems together. And so, yeah, I think throughout our journey, if I have to reflect on why all of this is possible, it's because of.
And welcome to the Venture to Victory podcast, where we look at the entrepreneurial journey from startup to exit. And man, I am excited today because we have got like the quintessential entrepreneur to unicorn startup. We got Kashish Gupta in the house, and I am pumped up. Kashish, how are you?
Good, Tim. Good to be on the podcast, and thanks for having me.
Thanks. I'm so excited today because I've had many, many guests and many people I've met at conferences, and they all want to talk about 500 startups and Y Combinator. And are these what we used to call incubators? Are they really like the secret to success? And your story is about as great as any of them. We're very pumped for anybody watching who wants to know what that experience is like and what you can become. You're not going to miss this one. So, Kashish, I'm going to do an intro. Hopefully, I'm going to get it right. Feel free to correct in any way possible. All right. Kashish Gupta, you are the co-founder and co-CEO of Hightouch, one of the fast-growing data activation startups in the space today. Again, as we just touched upon, you took Hightouch from a Y Combinator idea to a $1.2 billion valuation based on the last funding. You've raised over 170 million in venture capital. That's a big number. And turned Hightouch into a leader in what everybody's calling the Composable CDP movement. And you did it all, and I'd say 5, 6, 7 years roughly, which I think is pretty amazing. As I watched the Petco videos and tried to dig deep to what Hightouch's secret sauce really was, I felt like the big breakthrough for you guys is that you just didn't build another analytics tool, but you made it possible for the teams to actually use their data in real time across sales, marketing, product without
hmm
having to write a line of code. And that kind of flips the traditional data stack on top of each other. And that's very exciting. Kashish has a master's in engineering and machine learning from the University of Pennsylvania and a BS in economics and computer science from the Wharton School. What a great background for AI.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tim. And just one thing I want to push you on. One principle I have and something I just really believe in is the pronouns we rather than I. And so when we think about like high touch, right? Getting to where it is, the $1.2 billion valuation, all of the success, I really want to make sure that we give credit to the team that
Absolutely.
happen and the customers because inspiration doesn't strike in a vacuum. It strikes because customers lead you towards that kind of solution and what you can build for them to solve problems together. And so, yeah, I think throughout our journey, if I have to reflect on why all of this is possible, it's because of the great team and because of the great customers that showed us the way.
Yeah.
And I kind of think about me and my co-founders as just people that redirect energy. We are very lucky to be doing the job that we're doing. And now that we get to have that luck, we get to redirect that energy and take customer problems, show them to the right engineers within the company, and then solve them.
Well, I think that philosophy obviously is part of the reason why you guys have risen and grown in value so quickly. I would say I know you're as a team redirecting energy, but stars do attract energy as well. And when I've talked to lots of investors over time, and I always bring this up because one of the foundational things that Tim Draper said when he was on the podcast was that one of the key ingredients he looks in any founder is their ability to attract talent. And it's not just talent in terms of employee talent and engineering talent, but suppliers and partners, and as you said, ultimately customers, and everybody has to believe in you. So humility is a wonderful characteristic of a leader, which you obviously have. But I really do appreciate that. No one ever gets from point A to point B without a lot of other people standing on their shoulders. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. On that fun note about building the team and all these great people and attracting all this great energy, let's just jump into the thing. I mean, how does someone get into Y Combinator, get out of Y Combinator, and then a couple years later have $1 billion company? It's so audacious, yet it happens all the time, and you're living proof. I don't know if you ever dreamed that this could
Mhm.
happen so quickly, but where did the idea come from? Where was that great market insight, the type of company you can build, and what was that experience like starting humbly in Y Combinator and then kind of hitting all these growth milestones and becoming what Hightouch is today?
Yeah, so actually, like, Y Combinator asked us the same question, this year. Uh,
Oh, wow.
even I don't think they predicted that we would be where we are today. And the honest truth is that we just listened over and over and over to what people wanted around us. So when we did Y Combinator, the business was actually a different one. We were working on a voice agent or like text agent for travel. It was basically ChatGPT for travel. That's what we did Y Combinator with and raised our seed round for. COVID happened a few months later. And since then, we pivoted multiple times to now build what we're building today. And so if you had asked me or my co founders or YC, could we have achieved like what we have achieved so far in the coming 2 years? The answer would have been for sure not. And it is really just like the one skill of listening. So every single time we built any product, we showed it to customers and we asked them, hey, like, do you like the product? And their answer would always be yes. So then we'd follow up with, well, what problems do you have to solve that are even more important than this problem? And they'd rattle off 10 things that are more important than whatever we showed them. And we would ask ourselves, well, like, what can we build out of those 10 things? And we'd always choose number one or two. Because why would you want to solve the 10th most important thing? And I
Yeah.
think this is like the thing that keeps motivating us to adapt our business to whatever is most important to our customers at the time. So you're right. We did build data activation. What that means is marketers want to use data to personalize marketing for their customers. To do that, they need access to all their data. And we simply gave them UIs to access that data and run personalized campaigns using that data across email, SMS, advertising, and so on. And we do that for some of the large B2C brands in the world, folks like PetSmart that you mentioned, but
Yeah.
also a lot of other ones. And after that, people said, well, data is really simple. I want to use AI to personalize my marketing now. And we built agentic marketing. So now what customers know us for is agentic marketing, which is this idea of can I launch agents that will personalize my marketing so that it's as if every customer in my database has a personalized marketer like hand holding them through their customer journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the Petco video that's on your website because it's so easy to boil down for anybody. Like, I've always had a relationship with Petco even when I didn't have a pet. I'd take my kids in to look at stuff, or we'd look at equipment, the fish bowl, or then as things evolved, right, you're taking the dog in for grooming, you're buying some food there. There's just lots of things that you do over a large period of time, and they're collecting so much information on your family, and it really how you can use that in a positive way, those touch points, to actually get somebody to take an action that would be beneficial to them is really, really interesting. For the users, if we could get a little more clarification, I understand the AI agents that you're building, which is something new, but the first part of that equation, which is there's so many providers that have been out there working with huge companies that are trying to show them how to extract usable insights from data in warehouses. Yeah, again, from your perspective, what is that you did that was so fundamentally different and actually like a category name change for doing so?
Yeah, so you're right. The space was super crowded when we entered it. The core innovation was this idea of composable CDP. I like to refer to it as bring your own database. And so we were the only SaaS tool at the time that said, I'm not going to give you a database and I'm not going to store all your data. Instead, just bring me what you already have and I'll make it work. Which means now instead of spending 6 months implementing my tool, you could spend like 6 hours implementing it and
Mhm.
I'll inherit everything that you've built over the last like 10 years. So what we found is large enterprise B2C brands were working on building this like rich customer data set and have been working on it for many, many years for analytics purposes. Our premise was let me just build you all the UIs and activation layers on top. Let me help you deploy AI, data science, everything on top of that data that you already have. And that way, you own the data. All I'm doing is helping your marketers access it and use it in like more personalized ways. And people love that idea because they didn't want to give their data away to vendors and then like lose kind of that richness of the data. They wanted to keep it in the format. And then, for example, like we can now do marketing for you or for your kids. And so we can say, hey, Tim, like it's your kid's birthday coming up. Here's things that you've bought for your kid before. You should make sure not to forget their birthday. And that is actually a value add to you as a
For
customer
sure.
versus simply like forcing you to buy more stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, again, I think about that all the time with the Petco example. Those types of things are so prevalent. They really do drive behavior, and they also make you feel like you're connected to the client. Like I said, my relationship with Petco, for example, it doesn't matter whether I have a pet. Pets come and unfortunately pets go, new ones come into the play the longer we live. And that relationship I think is super important. We talk about this kind of meteoric rise for the company, such a big success. But whenever I talk to um, entrepreneurs who've had these great successes, there's always a couple points along the way where they felt like maybe the company wasn't going to make it. Something happened out of left field that almost destroyed everything they were doing. Did you guys have any huge bumps in the road like that? And how did you overcome that?
It's hard to, like, remember history that way because, like, every road bump eventually resulted in something really good happening.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people would remember COVID for us that way. We
Yeah.
were working on ChatGPT for travel. Suddenly, everyone stopped traveling for over a year. And so people would consider that a road bump, but I would say that that is what led us to where we are today. And so, it's like there is a saying that like the only thing that separates like successful founders from unsuccessful ones is resilience. And like eventually you start pivoting to the problem that gets you
Yeah.
further success.
I think for sure resilience is always a theme that comes up, but I think adaptability is maybe
Mm.
hovering around that same area. You can be very resilient on the same idea and still kind of slow road to death. I know a lot of early stage investors, like VCs that invest like pure Series A work, have always said that a lot of times they're betting on the adaptability and creativity of the founders more so than the market because at that very early stage, like you said, a million things, these externalities come from left field and they can change the game, the plan, everything, but we already invested $5 million. Is it down the drain or are they going to find a way to turn that around? So I love the idea that you pivoted multiple times. I think a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes they fall in love with their own idea and their own product more so than the clients in the market. They don't want to give it up. And I love that idea that you're out showing a client a product and they said, I really, really like, but you said, well, is there something or the 10 more ideas that are more impactful, more detrimental to you right now that you'd love to be fixed? And they gave you that advice back. So yeah, I think that's a true builder of something.
I'll also give you an analogy. This is going to be a really weird one. You probably never heard this
Yeah.
one, but I think like it's good founders are also like doctors. So a doctor should never be incentivized to like run a procedure or a surgery. They should be incentivized only to find pain. And so they just keep searching for pain. If they don't find any, then they just move on.
Yeah.
But if they do find pain, that's when they recommend a procedure or like a surgery.
Yes.
And the best doctors are just going to be like the best pain seekers in the world, and they're going to find pain.
Yeah.
And I think that's like what good founders are too. Like they're never trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. They're just like heat-seeking missiles for pain, and then if they find it and they go solve that problem, they don't, then they move on.
Yeah, yeah, what an interesting analogy. I do like all my doctors to be in the pain solving business, not just the finding business,
Yeah,
but, it is a great analogy. It makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, in the medical industry, I wish that our doctors were not incentivized. Unfortunately, the whole system does
I know.
incentivize you
This
to
kills me.
get through patient to patient, but what a great idea. As they say, find the pain and you'll find a market. So where are you guys today with High Touch? I mean, obviously, you've raised a lot of venture capital. You're starting to really, really scale in a major way. You've got the big valuation, which is, attracts resources to you, which is always a good thing. Where do you guys see the future of the business going? Is it just purely scaling out, or I got to think with AI, every traditional vendor is probably thinking, "Hey, we're going to add AI to the mix and discover something new." So, what's the future look like for High Touch?
Yeah, it's kind of to reinvent everything for marketers. So our ideology is that with agents and like agentic marketing, the way we even just think about like software or like the way we interact with our customers will really change. And so we want to be part of that for every single touch point for the customer. And so can I give you like right now, for example, right? A marketer might have 10 ideas a day, 10 ideas a week. Do they have the resources to execute against all of those 10 ideas? I bet they're not even executing against one of those ideas a week because it might take like 4 weeks to launch a campaign.
Yeah,
With AI, you can delegate half of that work or even 90% of that work to your like AI counterparts. So Anthropic released this thing called Cowork a couple of days ago. We really think of Hightouch as coworker for marketers, where you have an idea, give the AI 95% of the work to execute the idea, and then be able to just become a thinking machine, a brand machine, a strategy machine. So you are the brand, the strategy, the like expert, and the AI is executing those strategies for you, coming back and telling you what works. and then helping you scale without having to worry about all the like operational bullshit you'd otherwise have to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that because I think a lot of people are thinking, well, I've got all these various LLMs and I can create a customized product related to me, but then they think, oh, well, okay, but how does that LLM get all of the information in our data center or a data warehouse, right?
Right.
Now it's a big problem.
Huge.
Right. Just that part of it alone. So this idea that you've got a company that's already building that layer that could do it for you, and it is using everything that the LLMs have to offer that's in the marketplace, but also ties into your data warehouse that you own, is a really powerful concept and maybe sticky too.
And I'll be honest, like we thought it would be pretty easy to build what you just described
Yeah.
on getting all the context from the data warehouse, all your marketing campaigns in the wild, and so on. It actually turned out to be a very, very difficult infrastructure challenge and
Yeah.
context engineering challenge. So our job is not to build a foundation model. There's really good foundation models that are getting better every day. But our job is to give those foundation models all of that marketing and data context, which is impossible right now because context windows will get blown up. So what we do uniquely well is we do all the context engineering and all the infrastructure work to take your brand's marketing campaigns, content, and data and serve it to LLMs in a way where LLMs can actually understand and operate. So like so many of our customers have tried to build this in-house. We've also tried to build it in-house. It took us almost a year to get it right. And so that's what gives us some conviction that not only will it be sticky, but that we can actually really provide value compared to what people will build in-house.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I'll call out like a lot of people want to use LLMs in a way where it's like, take this context, run an API call, get back an answer. Unfortunately, the world does not work that way. And like LLMs single shot things correctly very rarely. And so that QA work, evals work, context engineering work, I think is where all the magic happens.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this actually work in production. So we have almost like 30 customers now that are running marketing campaigns in this way.
Wow.
But we had to go through that trial and error to figure out how to build a platform that actually makes that work. And yeah, we'll just be really excited to show it to other folks.
Well, I think that's what's so great. I'd imagine, sometimes when you're trying to make the sale, right? Sometimes it's just the marketing person says this is wonderful, but then the IT people are saying, well, we can build this in house. And this idea that you can say, well, we're actually the company that did it and we tried to build it and it was still extremely difficult. And we've raised $170 million now to do it. What kind of capital commitment can you guys even make and how much time? Do clients sometimes feel a sense of liberation in a way? Like they're not so reliant on these other large providers that may not be so quick to adapt, but they're locked in and now they don't have to be.
I mean, instead of speaking for them, I'll just quote like what folks have
Yeah.
been telling us.
Okay.
But like for all of our products, I think like the truth is that most products in the MarTech space have just kind of like let their customers down.
Mm.
And so they find that working with our team and with our product is a breath of fresh air. And like I hate to say it, but like it's just like when the thing works, it surprises them. And so the same goes for AI, right? Like how many times have you seen a marketing campaign in the wild that was generated by AI?
Oh my
It's actually
gosh.
not that often. We want that to be the case, but actually like most brands are not executing marketing campaigns with AI because it's not good enough for the brand guidelines. I think that'll quickly change now that we're launching this platform because we've kind of solved the brand guidelines piece. But like our motto is do things the right way or don't do them.
Yeah.
And so we will like kind of battle test it, not charge the customer until we actually feel like the thing works and it can be used in production. And that way, when the incremental customer tries it, it actually works on day one and they are benefiting from those design partners that we tried it with.
So are you working with very large brands exclusively? Or are you looking at mid tier or like who's the target ICP for you guys?
Yeah, anyone that makes like over 500, usually over a billion in revenue, is usually a pretty good fit. And that's usually around the stage where they have a lot of customer data and a lot of marketing in the wild. We'll take on business with smaller brands too.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's usually like the middle to large brands.
Is there this huge disparity or difficulty when you're working with a large brand that is running campaigns in different parts of the world? So you're selling in the UK, then you're selling in the Middle East, then you're selling in the United States, and there's cultural differences. How you even reach out to people is different. How is that all handled, and is that something that High Touch can do as well?
Yeah, it does. So I mean, like, um, as we were talking about, like, we just love finding pain. What you described to me is more painful than companies that operate in the US.
Yeah,
And AI is like magically good at this, right? So it can find you campaigns that worked well in a specific language and then rebuild those campaigns for you in other languages. So, for example, like India is not one language, right? It's like 100 and 200 languages.
Yeah.
We can help you run localized campaigns across every geography in India
Yeah.
or in different parts of Europe. And so we can take the patterns of stuff that works, even in like a superhuman way. So maybe like I can like go look at patterns and watch a bunch of videos for some brand. I'll find some patterns. AI will work like infinitely longer than me to find infinitely more patterns. And then it will generate campaigns in those different languages so you can then run those campaigns following that pattern that works.
Yeah. So you can even get down to slang, regional dialectics, and it can do that instantly in any part of the world where before you had to have a whole transcription department of a large company that was limited to certain languages.
Right. Yeah, and I wish I could show you because like you'd see the crux of it is that like you generate all these things, you find all these opportunities, but then you show the marketing team, here's what I found for you. What do you agree with or disagree with? So now they have like maybe 50 new ideas that the AI generated and said, hey, I think this is a pattern that works. Hey, I think this could be done better. Hey, this language is actually incorrect. Let's try this. But then we as marketers can say yes and no to all those things
Yeah.
and be in the loop and be asked for permission before the campaign launches.
Yeah.
That's how you earn trust with the customer.
I enjoyed the video that you did on LinkedIn where you're giving that you were showing the differences between certain wool sweaters or whatever, and at the end, a recommendation was actually made to you based on the data. It said, "Based on this information, you should do this." Like you said, the marketers always have the right to say yes or no, but it's interesting for somebody to look at such a mass amount of data and then clearly say, "Here's the next thing that you should do." And of course, you could test that, but I thought that was so powerful in the way you did it in the video. It was just a couple queries and the answer was there. And what went on behind the scenes, obviously, is a very powerful technology to be able to do that. Very, very cool. So it doesn't sound like you've had that many blemishes, but what are some of the big challenges that are facing you guys coming up in the next couple of years?
Just hiring enough people. It's really hard to maintain the bar of like hires as you hire more.
Yeah.
We'll scale to like 600 headcount this year.
Wow.
And that is really hard to do well. And I hope this is not a challenge, but I want to make sure that we keep our product velocity. So as teams get bigger, they always end up having like more red tape for how you can ship code and like when you can ship code. And we just want to actually move faster as we get bigger rather than slower.
Yeah. Yeah.
AI can help you do that, right? But like if you don't let people use enough like vibe coding, then that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So how can we maintain the startup culture and actually like let people run faster as a bigger company versus slower as a bigger company?
Since you're the one of the co-founders of the company, did you guys come out and kind of define the environment we like to build, or did this just happen at a grassroots level and it just kind of bubbled up to be what it is? Was it by design or was
Yeah.
it by evolution?
Yeah. It was by evolution. It was very much bottoms up. It very much happened like organically.
Yeah,
And then we think of our jobs as amplifying the good things. And that way, like everyone just knows what we think is good. So we
yeah.
would continuously like look at other people on the team that were just doing an amazing job of upholding a good bar for culture and then talk about it publicly in Slack, in all hands, at our offsites, and so on. And so instead of defining the culture, we would just amplify the examples of it. And it kept growing organically into what it is.
So what is it today? What makes High Touch such a fun, great place to work? Since you're hiring a lot of people, some people are going to
Yeah.
listen. High Touch
Yeah.
could be the place for you.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I mean, we just really value people taking ownership and making impact. And so we want to enable people to do that in their careers. We don't believe in like do exactly what your boss says. We believe in like set a big crazy goal or like go on a big mission and make that happen in any way that you think is the best way.
And it's okay to make a mistake. We learn through it through trial and error. Yeah,
Right. And if you don't make enough mistakes, you're probably not taking enough risk.
definitely.
And so we just really believe in like finding people that are ultra humble, ultra curious, and ultra hungry and enabling them to make a really big impact. And so, like at High Touch, if you're an engineer at a different company, at High Touch, you should be able to maybe even build like an entire product end to end by yourself,
Yeah.
or maybe with like a 2 or 3 person team. And we focus more on hiring people that can make impact versus like follow instructions.
Okay. Well, that's great to know for anybody listening. Sounds like a great environment to work in. Let's jump away from high touch for 1 second because, as I said, what a great background you had, with machine learning and engineering. What do you personally, when you wake up every day, besides high touch, what are the areas that you're super excited about in the next 5 years where you think AI is going to touch all of our lives individually?
It's a great question. Do you have any takes?
Yeah, sure. For me, I mean, obviously, this idea for me about trying to regain my time, if you think about it, right? The
Mm,
only commodity that we all have of any value is time. It's not money, it's not success, it's nothing else, right? We all want more of it. We want to be here. We want to enjoy these experiences. And this idea of super productivity and AI agents helping, and then whenever I get mad at somebody or in my family, I say, "Can't wait to have a robot of my own." Right? This idea that all these great things are going to do stuff and make our lives, much better, and they're going to give us that time back so we can have experiences with the people that we love. For me, I'm so excited about that. I'm fascinated with this concept of humanoid robots and how they're going to help us out from will they be in relationships with people? And what is the impact of that? How are they going to help us regain our time? Are they going to really bring the cost of goods and services down so low to the point where you no longer have, certain levels of poverty that we've been used to, over the past several hundred years? That's the area that really excites me the most.
yeah, I mean, on the humanoid point, my roommate is actually making a humanoid right now.
Oh my gosh.
He has a robotic arm right there, I think.
Wow.
Even though it's no longer here now, it's outside of our home. Yeah, I think I have equal fears as I do excitement about how AI will transform.
Yeah.
One thing I get really pumped about is just unlimited access to information and intelligence. So, like, when I have, like, a parent with a health problem, they can ask AI and get pretty smart information about that health problem. That kind of stuff excites me. The ability for people that don't operate in the English language to now be able to operate as if they operate in the English language is a huge, um, like so I think there will be a lot of these equalizers, like, maybe people without a degree get equal opportunity as people with one. Maybe people that don't speak English get equal opportunity as people that speak English. So I'm really excited about that kind of, like, ability to equalize the playing field that will happen and just getting people access to unlimited information.
Yeah, I mean, I think about, when the calculator first came out, going back way then, right? Someone didn't really need to have to know anything about mathematics anymore. You could just do it. And then a person with a 7th grade education, if they have that iPhone in their hand, think of the intelligence they have without being educated. I was listening to a podcast the other day. They did a survey of what percentage of people would are consider sending their kids to college, no college. So it was college, trade school,
Mhm.
or just get out there and kind of start working, start a business. And the number was enormous. It was like 65% were looking at trade schools. And when they say trade schools, they're not talking about, I'm going to necessarily going to become an HVAC technician or a plumber or something, but technical certifications, people who are saying, I don't need to spend 4 years, right, learning all these different things at school. Maybe I could just spend a year or two focused on one area, get out there and start working, making money, becoming a kind of a highly skilled worker, and maybe even starting something on my own. Yeah, that I look at this kind of great social divide and have always wondered, these technologies are gonna really, I think they have the potential to really level the playing ground for so many people, and it's all based on the ability to get information and use information positively, so that's exciting, and certainly what you mentioned too, the area in aging is just unbelievable. I had been listening to an Elon Musk, Peter Diamandis pod the other day where they were talking about all this kind of futuristic stuff.
Mhm.
And Peter was talking about, well, based on what's going on now with the technologies they're looking at on anti-aging, that is extremely possible that not that far down the road, people could easily be living to 150 years. And first I thought, well, that's a long time. But then if you look at the actuarial longevity at the turn of the century was about 48 years old. Now I think it's like 82 on average, depending which country you're looking at. So we have almost increased human lifespan, let's say by 70% in a little bit over 100 years. That's almost doubled it versus all of humanity in the past. And when you look at that and you say, and now we're the age of AI, right? Well,
Mhm.
to go from 82 to 150, is that really that crazy? So this is what's absolutely amazing to me. I hope I can make it there, but I'm always thinking in terms of the world my children are going to have who are,
Yeah.
in high school and college and some in elementary school. And I think it's hard to really know what is truly possible out there. And I always tell people the best time to ever be alive is right now. Who would ever want to retire and play golf when the world is changing and robots are coming into our world and you can connect with people everywhere? So I find
Yeah,
it an
that's
amazing
really
time
crazy.
to live.
150 million, 150 year lifespan would be crazy. Love to imagine that.
For those who were expending cells very quickly by burning the midnight oil in these various incubators, because they're driven by one thing: I'm going to make my startup a success, whether it kills me or not. Let's just jump real quickly. Why Combinator? Again, I've had a lot of guests on the show. Everybody kind of talks so positively about the experience, how it gave them kind of a format and a way of thinking that really prepared them, not necessarily for the company that they're working on and Y Combinator, but other secondary startup ventures that they had later on. It was like the training ground. Now, for you, you built something, as you said, you had to pivot a couple times, but you went from that incubator to this amazing company and grew it. What advice would you give to young people that are thinking about getting into whether it's 500 startups, YCOM, or there's a bunch of them out there? What advice would you give to them in those early days when they start out?
I guess, I mean, the biggest one is just start.
Just start.
YC says this too, right? They're like, everyone should apply. You don't need a certain amount of progress or a certain amount of skills in order to apply.
Yeah.
That like, look at like the majority of successful entrepreneurs in like the 80s, 90s, like 2000s, 2010s. Like, they're not the people with the best resume. They're the people with the greatest hustle
Yeah.
that like make things happen and find some sort of like innovation, right? So like, I think like the prerequisites are really low. They're lower than people think, but like obviously the amount of hard work is very high, and so people that are willing to do it are just the right fit, and they should just go for it.
Do you think they're looking more at the characteristics of the individual versus the business idea and the potential for the market? Do you think that's kind of from a super early
Yeah,
stage, that's kind of where they're focused more so than how great is your idea and have you mapped out every direction and roadmap you can go?
I think so. I think they're looking for like the best way I can describe it is the same way we do our interviews.
Mhm.
It's the characteristics of the individual. So I think exactly what you said, rather than like the knowledge or resume of the individual.
Yeah.
So what I mean by characteristics is like, do you have a proven record of outworking your peers or being more creative than your peers or being more like self-learning than your peers? Like, this proven record of doing these things is much more interesting than knowledge or like a degree. So like the way they, if you read their interview questions, you'll kind of see this. When they ask you about your business, they kind of don't give a shit about the answers about the actual business. They care about how you think about it. And how you think about it describes your characteristics as a human more so than the characteristics of your business.
Yeah. How do you answer that question with humility about how are you better than all your peers? It's kinda tricky in a way, right? Because you want them to infer that rather than you to say that.
No, I think Y Combinator interviews are different. I think you can just not be humble.
Yeah,
I don't think they're looking I don't think they're looking for humility. Personally, I don't know if that's correct, but that's my take.
I
I
love
think
that.
in job interview is a different story.
Yeah.
Like in like a Y Combinator interview, I think they're you just say it like it is.
Yeah, probably they know that, the battle scars, that are coming are pretty large for anybody that's trying to build something significant from nothing, and so, there is a mentality that's important there, right? You can't just quit every time the first gust of wind hits you. And those, as you said, resilience is obviously at the top of that list as well as adaptability. Was there any big takeaway that you got from the whole experience that you walk away with say, wow, I really learned something there that I didn't know before. And I've kind of used that and shared that with people I'm developing?
There's a bunch of things that were like along the lines of like just like, like relying on your co-founders, not giving up, like normalizing like the psychology of being a founder. So when you are like depressed one day, then you don't think that this is just you,
Yeah.
because you've heard that actually hundreds of other people felt the exact same way. And so you're not unique in the pain that you feel. Like, that kind of stuff really helps. Just the not feeling alone piece.
Yeah.
And the like, it's like, like the idea of like any problem you face, someone else has faced before and I figured it out. So like just suck it up and figure it out instead of complaining.
Maybe also learning how to love pain since you seem to
Yeah,
want to find pain everywhere. Pain is opportunity, right? Pain is something that can be healed.
that's a good point.
You were a healer, a technology healer of sorts. That's what we can say about about iTouch.
Yeah, maybe for high touch and maybe on the personal side, I got to work on that a little bit more.
Don't we all? Don't we all? Well, hey, this has been a lot of fun. One of the things I always do on the Venture Victory podcast, I always end it with the same question. It says a lot about, kind of where people's mindset is. And that question is, what does it mean to you, Kashish, in your personal life, your business life, your, social life, however you want to describe it? What does it mean to you to truly be victorious?
For me, it's making people around me successful, giving them fulfillment, success, happiness. The people around me could be my friends, my family, and all my coworkers. So when it comes to work, it's all the coworkers. But victory to me is those things. And everything we've ever done in High Touch has been to optimize like our employees' outcomes.
Yeah. You know what I love about that answer is it's kind of like two bookends. We started the podcast with the introduction and you talking about how no one gets there by themselves. It's a total team effort. It's a group of people. And then you ended it with the same way, which to me, if I were like a lawyer trying to ask the question 9 ways to figure out what's the truthful way, that would be the same answer. And I think that shows kind of true character, and that's who you really are. And that's really fun. And so, thank you so much for being here. What an exciting story! I can't wait to see where High Touch goes. Gosh, in the next couple years, and I'm sure there's going to be bigger victories down the line, and more pain to be found.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun for me as well. And excited to stay in touch.
Thank you so much. And that's it. Talk to you in the next one. Cheers.
Cheers.
The Venture to Victory podcast is provided by MatchStar Venture Search. If you're interested in any of our open executive roles or need help sourcing world class talent for your company, check out our website at matchstar.com.